Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. We're back with some more NFL DFS picks and lineup advice for both FanDuel and DraftKings for tonight's Thursday night single game showdown slate between the Cardinals and the Seahawks. In this video, we'll talk about the top plays for both FanDuel and DraftKings, lineup strategies for low risk and high risk contests. We'll talk about some projected ownership, talk about what happened in DFS contests the last time these two teams met on a showdown slate, and just some general strategies to help get you to the top of your contest leaderboards. Before we get started, go ahead and click that subscribe button below. That way you get access to all of our videos as soon as they're released here on YouTube, MMA, and PGA when there are major events. These showdown videos every Monday and Thursday, our weekly DFS podcast, our $1 Million Mission Twitch replays, and more. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Lets us know that we should continue to make more of these types of videos. Any questions you have, just hop in the comments below, and we'll get back to you for the slate locks at 8:20 p.m. Eastern tonight. So, Cardinals Seahawks, these two teams played a couple of weeks ago, and not much has changed outside of a couple of injuries here and there. And I guess we should touch on those injuries before we get started. And the biggest one, even though he's expected to play, is Tyler Lockett, officially questionable. Didn't practice Monday or Tuesday with a knee sprain. But Adam Schefter tweeted yesterday that Lockett is expected to play. Pete Carroll said he's expected to play. So we should assume that Lockett is going to give it a go tonight. If for some reason he can't play or is limited, it would mean more snaps for David Moore, wide receiver 3, Freddie Swain, the rookie receiver, wide receiver 4, and potentially, if Lockett's completely limited, then maybe we get more snaps for Penny Hart, rookie receiver here for the Seahawks. So the other injury that we know about, Chris Carson is likely out. He's listed as questionable. Schefter said he's probably going to be out. We'll see here. I'm leaning Carson being out. If he can't go, Carlos Hyde is expected to make his return after missing a couple games with a hamstring injury. He was a full participant in practice. He was almost there last week. Pete Carroll actually said Hyde is ahead of Carson when it comes to availability, so that should indicate to us that Hyde will be active. Carson probably will not. DJ Dallas also there. Alex Collins. And then Travis Homer, who's been taking a few snaps each game. So we can find Travis Homer in the player pool. I think he's near the bottom here. Yep, he's doubtful. He's likely not going to play. So it should be Hyde, Alex Collins, DJ Dallas, some mix. Hyde probably leading the way. Arizona, really no injuries to speak of. The biggest ones are to the tight ends, and this is mostly for large field contests. Max Williams questionable, Darrell Daniels questionable. So that would leave the only truly healthy tight end in Dan Arnold. So there's something to think about for your high risk contest. Now, low risk contests, remember these are 50-50s, head-to-heads, double up, small field contests where half the field doubles their money. We're trying to lock up 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, get all the touchdown scoring in the game if we can. That's how we talk about it in our Showdown guide, our Showdown ebook. And so if we try to do that tonight, let's start on DraftKings. Kylo Murray, Russell Wilson, obviously the 2 quarterbacks. If we go with Carlos Hyde, who should be the lead back tonight, thankfully he's a little bit less expensive because of the recent injuries. And then on the Arizona side, Kenyon Drake returned last week. He roughly split snaps with Chase Edmonds, but it was Drake who got most of the rushing attempts, 16-8, and he got more red zone opportunities, that's rushes plus targets, than Kenyon Drake, 4-1. So if one of these running backs are going to score, it's likely going to be Kenyon Drake. He's guaranteed more touches, so he's the guy we'd want, 6,200. This leaves us 36.50 left per player, which is actually pretty reasonable. Normally we get more expensive running backs. Even though we have 2 very expensive quarterbacks, we can actually fit this in, and we can get in some values, whether it's kickers and defenses or maybe a value receiver. But this is a good way to start. If you don't like the values here, you can always drop Murray to your flex. Use Russell Wilson at captain, or use one of these running backs at captain to help, or even a defense or kicker to help make a more balanced lineup. FanDuel, surprisingly, it's also just as easy. So Kyler Murray, the most expensive, likely the most popular MVP. That's who we'll want in our low risk lineups. Russell Wilson, and then because let's slot in Kenyon Drake here, 11K, 77.50. Now we're pushing it on FanDuel, but Carlos Hyde, 8K, very very cheap for what's likely to be a lead back role. That leaves us $7,500 left for our last spot. We can easily fit in a value play. So surprisingly, pretty easy. Now, we're not guaranteed on the snaps between Drake and Edmonds. We're not guaranteed on the snaps between Hyde and Alex Collins and DJ Dallas. But again, we're making educated guesses here with incomplete information in DFS. And this is the best we can do. So if you're playing low risk lineups tonight, these are definitely the ways to start. Remember, if you don't watch any more of our videos, just understand if you're playing low risk showdown NFL contest, try to get in 2 quarterbacks and 2 of the starting running backs, and you'll be well on your way to a good showdown low risk lineup. Now for high risk contests, let's go back over to DraftKings. And if we look at the last time these teams played, if we look at all the lineups in the biggest GPP on DraftKings, 35% of lineups had Russell Wilson, 37% had Kylo Murray just by themselves. One had Russell, one had Kyler. 25% of lineups had both of them together, and just 1% of lineups had 0 quarterbacks. That was probably all of my lineups, if we're being honest. So I think those are about right. And if you look at lineups where there was a receiver captain, like let's actually put him in a captain spot, DeAndre Hopkins, roughly 80% of the lineup stacked a receiver captain with their own quarterback, which is probably good, probably fair. Maybe a little less probable with the more expensive quarterbacks here and both being really good. So if I had to lean one way, I would say one way to get an edge tonight is to not pair your receiver with his quarterback. So if you play Hopkins, play Russ Wilson instead, that should get you a little more unique. The other way is what a lot of people are going to do because they're trying to jam in Kyler Murray, DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, Russell Wilson, these big 4. You end up with a stars and scrubs type lineup. For most, you can't even do this. So they try to get in these 3. And if you just put in these 3, that's $3K left per player. And now we're building a stars and scrubs lineup, which is what most people are going to do. So the other way to do it, and it's tough because this slate features not many mid-range value options. All the targets are funneled in the passing game to Metcalf and Lockett, to Hopkins and Kirk. Makes it really tough. The other way is to only go with 2 studs and have a more balanced build. So guys like Drake and Hyde, Edmonds, David Moore, Fitzgerald, kickers, defenses, like this might be the way to go. And if there's one silver lining here as to why that might be the case, if we look at divisional matchups, we talked about this in last edition of the Showdown Plug on Monday night. Teams, when they're facing a division rival for the second time in a season, so these 2 teams met a couple weeks ago, they're playing against tonight. Quarterbacks in passing games generally score 10% fewer than their average points per game, and they score about 20% less than their expected fantasy output based on their salary. So with that being said, if we get no discount on Kyler and Russell Wilson, as we haven't with their salaries, they're about 20% less likely to hit value at these salaries because it's a second divisional rematch. And this is held true for many, many years, and it's kind of the same here. So if we keep that in mind, maybe a less pass-heavy game script, a lower scoring game script. The Vegas total is 57, 58 points. So even if it goes under the total, what does that mean for our lineups? Kyler Murray's been rushing for a ton of touchdowns. He has 19 red zone rushes, which is like top 15 in the league at running back, and he's a quarterback. But let's just say he stops rushing for touchdowns tonight. The variance doesn't get in the end zone on the ground. That would be a big reason why he doesn't hit value. Russ Wilson, 14 passing touchdowns in the first 3 weeks of the season, just massive variance, 14 touchdowns since. So if he continues his lack of touchdown passing, maybe he doesn't get there. So different ways these quarterbacks can fail. Add in the fact that it's a divisional rematch and they're more likely to fail, not by much, but 10 to 20% depending on the metric you're looking at. And maybe we go with a more balanced build. So if we were doing something like that, maybe it is, maybe it's Hopkins and Russ. If I can get the damn captain's percentages right. So let's put Hopkins here, Russ. 5,500 left per player. So instead of going another stud and then scrubs, maybe we go Kenyon Drake, Carlos Hyde, Larry Fitzgerald, Chase. This is a random lineup. Just don't play this lineup, which means you will play this lineup. But $600 left over. And if we look at the last time these teams played, the winning GPP lineup on DraftKings in the big GPP was split 135 ways. 135 different people had this lineup. $900 left over, which is more than this lineup here. And it featured 2 backup running backs. So normally you would think that's not a good lineup. Like, why is that duplicated so often? Is because there was both quarterbacks, stud, receiver at captain, and there weren't that many options. And it was stars and scrubs, a popular type build. This one, even though it has less salary, likely to be less duplicated. So just something to keep in mind here. Think about what the field's going to do. The field's going to try to jam in 3 studs on DraftKings, 2 to 3 to 4 studs on FanDuel. Just think about that and how it impacts what your lineups do and how you can get different from what everybody else in your contest is going to do. So for more detailed thoughts on every player and our official lineup strategies, go to occupyfantasy.com. Check out the NFL Daily Plug, the Thursday Showdown edition. Full write-up will be up by 4 p.m. Eastern. Check out the Occupy model, projected ownership for FanDuel and DraftKings, flex and captain and MVP spots, full rankings for both sites. And you can always hop in our Discord channel, occupyfantasy.com/Discord, instructions on how to join. So before we get out of here, click that subscribe button, get notified when our videos are released. Give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. Any questions you have, just comment below, and we'll be sure to get back to you tonight. So Brian Jester for Occupy Fantasy. Appreciate you listening. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.